Just settling in, breathing. Taking in several deep cleansing breaths, beginning with an inhale, taking it into a count of 7, holding it for a count of 7, exhaling for a count of 7, and then holding the empty for a count of 7. We'll do this 3 times. Breathing in. Hold it. Exhaling for a count of 7. Hold the exhale. And in. Hold it. And exhaling. Hold the empty. And inhaling. Hold it. And exhaling. Hold the empty. And breathe normally. Feeling that energy in your heart space expand. Feeling the opening in your chest. Knowing the truth of the divine being of light that you are. Experiencing that truth on a cellular level in all of your DNA. Feeling that energy expand. And now looking down at your feet, recognizing and witnessing the expansion of your energy out the bottom of your feet, going deep into the core of Mother Earth, exploring all the levels of Gaia, feeling your energy travel, going all the way to the center of Gaia, to that deep, beautiful, dark, effervescent crystal at the center of Gaia. This is what causes us to feel connected to Gaia, this crystalline being at the center of the earth. As we connect with this magnificent, grounding earth energy, do we recognize the beauty of our cohabitation here with earth? And in this moment, do we realize the abundance of our existence here? Recognizing the air we breathe, the water we drink, the food that nourishes our bodies, the clothes that keep us warm, the shelter over our head. Everything about our existence here, in some form or another, comes from Mother Earth. And we realize that every cell in our body, the vastness of the abundance that we have access to, we know the truth that we can never be truly without. Feeling that energy traveling back up through the earth and now coming back into the bottom of your feet, traveling all the way up your Kundalini, going from your base chakra through to your crown chakra, now leaving the top of your head, going into the air in this room, traveling beyond our ceiling, going into the earth's atmosphere. Feel your energy expanding, traveling, moving, flowing into our own star system, and now feel it moving beyond into all of the outer galaxies. Recognize now that our energy can travel to and beyond all 400 billion planets in the Milky Way. That we are individuals and yet simultaneously existing as universal energy of love and light. We are one with all energies of creation. We exist in all time, all dimensions, all vibrations, all planes, all levels of existence, all places. Bringing your energy now from the galaxies back into your heart space. See it moving horizontally in all directions. See it enveloping the earth, touching, reaching, witnessing, observing, and being a part of all living beings on this earth plane. Those that we can see, those that we cannot see, because they are either too large, too small, or too etheric, and yet they are here, and they are a part of us. And as we breathe and send our loving energy out to all areas of the earth plane, do we reach and touch everything here. Now that we recognize our energy goes 360 degrees in all directions, do we unite and come together and make the prayer that all living beings of creation live in peace, love, and joy, doing the kirtan style of Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu, and repeating Loka
Loka.
Samasta.
Samasta.
Sukhino.
Sukhino.
Bhavantu.
Bhavantu.
Loka.
Loka.
Samasta.
Samasta.
Sukhino.
Sukhino.
Bhavantu.
Bhavantu.
Loka.
Loka.
Samasta.
Samasta.
Sukhino.
Sukhino.
Bhavantu.
Bhavantu.
And so it is. And as we join together, setting this intention, creating a visual in our minds that all living beings of creation live in peace, love, and joy. Setting that intention, do we now see the visual of all nations, all people, coexisting, feeling the abundance of Mother Earth together in a state of knowledge and trust that we are at peace with each other. There are no more wars, only brotherhood and sisterhood, mutual understanding, working together rather than squabbling with each other, but working together, creating food for all, shelter for all, clean energy, clean air, clean water, clean food, a respect and honoring of all life forms, human and non-human, on equal ground. Do we see this world and do we create the visual and know that it's possible? Know that we have the power to create this. Know that it's real. And so it is. And gently and slowly coming back to the room, opening your eyes whenever you feel ready, keeping this heart space energy with you at all times. Good morning, everybody. We're all back. That visualization gets more real for me every time we do it. And I want you to know how powerful that is. That isn't just a pipe dream that we sit in here and engage in wishful thinking. When we all sit together and create that visual, we make it more real every time we do it. How many people watched the opening ceremony of the Olympics? Just one. We watched it last night. NBC was not going to be doing a rebroadcasting, but we have a computer set up to our video screen, and my daughter went on Reddit and got the path on how to change the IP address of our computer so that we could access the BBC. And we watched the replay of the BBC. So if you want to know how to do that, I'll give you my daughter's email. She can show you how to bypass the U.S. protocols that didn't allow the rebroadcast. It is a truly, truly beautiful ceremony. As all 204 nations that participated in the Olympics, which they said was even more than the nations that participate in the United Nations. And I meant to look up this morning and I forgot how many sovereign nations there are in the world. But I think it's almost 230. So we had 204 nations of the 234 sovereign nations come together in one city, in one place, for the purpose of being with each other. And the parade of the nations is always such a moving thing. And it was a real pride of Britain opening ceremony, and they went through their history, and of course they had a lot of humor in there. The British can't do anything without having some humor in there. And as each of the teams came out, they were holding these beautiful golden, they looked like horn of plenty. And as they had this circular mound where they each put their flags after they were done with the parade, these horns were placed in the center. And you know how at the end of the ceremony they always have the main torch lit, and that stays lit for the 17 days at the ceremonies. And instead of it being a singular torch, what happened was they had all of these cones, these 204 cones that each nation had brought, and they had them sitting on these spikes so that when one was lit, they all lit together, and then like a flower, like a lotus petal, closing up, all of these poles that held the light of the individual nations came and closed up like a flower and created a single torch together. I was in tears. It was beautiful. It was beautiful. Really, really. I sat there with tears coming down. How beautiful it was. And that's the prayer that we make every Sunday. When we come in here and we say, I did bring my Kleenex today. See, I knew yesterday. I left my Kleenex here. Every Sunday when we make this prayer, we say, a brotherhood of nations, all coming together. Every 4 years as we do the Olympics, this is what we create. And it's real, isn't it? All of those nations brought representatives from the government of their countries and were sitting together in that Olympic stadium. We already witness every 4 years the reality of the possibility that all the nations can come together with one singular purpose. Okay, so the purpose is sport, but that doesn't really matter what the purpose is. We've shown it's possible that we can all come together for a singular thought and a singular reason. And that's why the Olympics are so beautiful. And the colors of the nations as they come through and they bring all of their flags and their pride and everybody cheering them on. I think it's one of the most beautiful attestations that say world peace is possible when we witness the Olympics. And how they take the oaths and say they promise to be fair and unbiased and simply do their best to reach their highest potential. And it's not a vicious competition, and it's not one that shows bad sportsmanship. They're all of the highest value within each other. And so my topic today is truth. And what a beautiful way it was to experience truth when we make this prayer every weekend that says we can come together as a world, and then we see something like the Olympics that show us that is possible. The possibility that that exists is truth. And we just witnessed it 2 nights ago at a live event on Friday in London. So for those of you that have studied theta healing, I know Ron has taken my class and Hillary. Vienna talks about an area in a dimension called the laws. We've all heard of the law of attraction, that like attracts like. But there are many, many other laws. There are the laws of justice, the laws of motion, the laws of time, the laws of compassion, the laws of magnetism, the laws of gravity, the laws of sacred geometry, the laws of the records, the Akashic records is in the law of records. And we can work with these laws. And today I want to talk about the laws of truth. When Vienna, if you read the Theta Healing book, she has a section in there where she talks about one night when her husband was out on duty. She used to be married to a police officer, and he was out on duty one night, and she was alone at home in bed. And she woke up, and she had this sensation that something was downstairs in her living room. And as she walked down the stairs, she saw these huge orbs in her living room, the size of like 6 feet, that had faces on them. And she was terrified, and she ran upstairs, and she went back in bed and covered her head and prayed for them to go away. And the next day, she said she met with a psychic friend of hers, and she described this, and her friend said, "Oh, that's so cool. What were they? Did you ask? And she said, no, I was terrified. I didn't even ask. She said, what if they come back? Ask them who they are and what they want. Next night, her husband was on duty again, and she had the same sensation, and she went downstairs, knees shaking, she says, and the orbs were back inside her living room. And they said, we are the laws of truth. And are you willing to work with us and allow us to come into your life? And when you do this, you will see the universal truths in everything and everybody. And so she agreed. After that, all of her readings, she could see the truth of what was really happening with all of her clients. The truth of who they were and what they were. And she said that it was a really scary experience because in order to do that, to see truth in everybody, you also have to be without judgment. That we can only see the real truth in people and allow ourselves to understand all the depths and complexities of what we are and who we are as light beings in a human body, when we can do that without judgment. Then are we qualified to work with the laws of truth. So in Theta Healing, they talk about the different planes of existence. We are in the third plane right now. We are human dimensions. The fourth plane is the astral plane, where we cross over when we no longer have a physical body. The fifth plane is where we have the angelic realm, the ascended masters, our spirit guides, those that are highly evolved and yet don't have physical bodies. And then there is what she calls the sixth plane, where we have all the laws. And beyond the sixth plane, the seventh plane is the universal energy. So an example of working with all the different planes is if you knew somebody and they came to you, you were a healer, and they said, I'm having an affair, and I don't know what to do. I love my spouse, but I'm not satisfied in this relationship, and so I'm having this affair. And if you were a medium, that person's deceased parent or grandparent would come in and give them a message somewhere along the lines of, you know this is wrong, you need to quit the affair, you need to leave this person, take care of business, and you'd get the same advice you would from your parent if they were here on the earth plane. They'd pretty much tell you the same thing. If you went to the fifth plane and got advice, your angels and your guides would simply say, you need to stop doing this, it isn't the highest vibration, clean up your business, and get guidance on this, on the way to proceed. They would be very instructional, without judgment, but it would be very agenda-oriented. If you got advice from the sixth plane, from the laws would just say, you're having an affair. Like Joe Friday and Dragnet, just the facts, ma'am. You're having an affair. That's what you would get from the laws, just facts. The seventh plane of existence, universal energy, would say, it must be hard to love two people. It must be hard to feel the pain of deception. And you would get all this compassion and unconditional love from the seventh plane. So working with the laws and just the facts, it's a different way of working and getting information. It's not, you're not going to get compassion, you're not going to get instructions, you're just going to get facts. It's information gathering, appealing to a lot of people and appealing in many ways. So this morning as I was meditating, the other night, remember I sprained my ankle about 2 months ago, and it's been completely fine. But I've been thinking about the rent in our new place and how in November it kicks up to like this huge amount. And I was getting a little nervous about it. And I got in bed last night, and the night before on Friday, I was going to meditate, and all of a sudden my foot started hurting again, like I'd re-injured it. I looked at my foot, and I'm like, what is going on? And my foot was again, even though I hadn't injured it in any way or retwisted it, it was showing me the same pain as when I had, and I knew that it was an indication I was getting a little nervous about the rent. So As I meditated this morning and I asked the laws of truth to come in, and I saw these beautiful orbs come in with these faces on it, and they just looked at me and they said, you have the potential to make this happen. And that was it. A short, sweet sentence. I was like, okay. It wasn't my angels going, oh, we understand how hard it is, it's okay, we're here to support you. It was not angelic. It was not from the seventh plane where it said we understand how hard it is, and it wasn't encouraging, and it wasn't you can do it. It was just, you have the power to make this happen. I went, okay. It was just a straight fact. And that's true. I do have the power to make this happen. And so I kind of like the no-nonsense way of working with the laws. So I have here, this is from my manual from the Theta Healing. These are just some areas when you want to work with the laws. Now, some laws you can bend, some you can work with, some you can change, and others are just so. The laws of truth is a major law, and underneath the law of truth comes the law of motion, which states that once something is in motion, it's always in motion. The law of motion, under that, is the law of free agency and the law of thought, that everything about you is free agent. We always hear me talk about personal sovereignty and that nothing can happen against your free will. That is the law of free agency. We're all Kobe Bryant. We can sign with any team we want to at any time. Is that right? Or is he under contract? Okay. Maybe a bad example. The laws of velocity, explored by Albert Einstein. The laws of wisdom, the laws of action, and the laws of justice. I work with the laws of justice when something is happening with a client and they're going to court or they're doing something. I offer them calling the laws of justice. However, caution with the laws of justice. The laws of justice will bring in the right solution, not only for the current situation, but in all of your lifetimes, and will balance out karma. So if somebody is wrongly suing you, and you call in the laws of justice, you might end up getting the case settled against you if there is another case where 2 times you sued them in a different lifetime unjustifiably. The laws of justice will settle things on a surreal but very balanced nature. So calling in the laws of justice will balance all karma. So you might not think you're going to get what you think is going to happen in this one. The laws of magnetism is a major law. Under that, the laws of gravity. Under the law of gravity is the law of attraction, where like attracts like, negative and positive charges. Under that is the law of time and the law of sacred geometry. The laws of time can be bent. I was just telling everybody, the clocks in the temple here, that clock up there disappeared and none of us know where it went. Did you take it down? No? Tanya didn't, Jessie didn't, no, that clock just disappeared up there. The clocks in my office don't work. The clocks in the fairy room don't work. We put them in there and we change the batteries, we replace them, and the clocks in the temple just stop working. And that's because we work here with so many clients about creating their future and rewriting their past that we go beyond the laws of time in its linear concept here. The laws of time are not linear. And so linear, because we do that here so much, linear clocks don't work here in the temple. It's a law of dimensions that architects work with. The law of illusion that keeps you thinking that you're really here. The law of DNA that creates the physical body that you have. And whether you're tall or short, or blue eyes or brown eyes, whether you have healthy cells or unhealthy cells. The law of Akashic Records is under the law of magnetism, that major law. There's the law of vibration and the law of energy, and the law of light, and the law of tone and electricity. the law of nature, which creates balance in the universe for air and water. There's the law of compassion. And the law of compassion allows us to bend all the laws when we need to. So the laws of truth are just one. Now in the DNA 3 classes that Diana teaches, in that class we learn how to work with the weather. That would be working with the laws of nature. So anything that you do, when sound healers do work on people, they're working with the laws of tone. When spiritual healers go back and change the past, we work with the laws of time. There's laws of energy. So in all healing modalities, all musicians, artists, architects, scientists, in every capacity there is a law that they are working with that dictates how it goes and how it works. And when you connect with those laws and ask them to come in, your work can exponentiate on many levels. And Ron, your job, you work with the laws of nature. Hillary, your work, that's also the laws of nature, but it's also the laws of composition, DNA, and dimensions because of the surgical tools and the things. Everything that happens on Earth, everything that you do in some way, shape, or form works with one of the laws. You work with the laws of tone. So when you do your work, if you meditate and ask the laws of tone to come in with you, your work could go to a new level. So I've been inviting in the laws of truth. And I start with my own truth, and that's where they have us start with. Before we can see anybody else's truth, we have to be able to see our own truth without judgment. And so I'm asking them now to come into my life. You never ask the laws to actually come into your body, by the way. Just come into your energy field. Bad idea. So I ask the laws to come into my life, and I'm asking the laws of truth to come in and just give me the facts. I just want to know what to do, how to do it, where to work it, why to work it, how to work it. At this point in my journey, I would like straightforward information. No pussyfooting around, no going in the back door. Don't give me the soft, candy-coated version of it. No brain candy, just I want to move forward, I want to create, I want to build, I want to expand this community, I want to get the awareness of everything that we're doing out there to as many people as I can. Give me the most direct route to do that. Give me truth. And then I ask them also, but give it to me in a way that I can express it delicately to people so I don't scare them off. And the first thing they told me was, you have the power to create this. And that was really all I needed to know, because it's true. And they didn't rustle me up or candy coat me or give me the pep talk. They just said, you have that power, and that is my truth. That's it. The power comes from thought. So this is another excerpt from one of Vianna's manuals. And this is the power of our thoughts. And I'll read this to you. Every thought that you think is a psychic energy. Every thought that you think affects your health and your happiness. Every thought that you think is carried on a psychic level. Every thought that you think attracts it on a psychic level. Every thought that you think attracts both animal, people, and inanimate objects. Every thought that you think enters your subconscious or subjective mind and, through the subconscious mind, the psychic realm. Every thought that you think is positive in nature attracts positive results in you physically. Every thought that you think that is negative in nature attracts negative results to you physically. Every thought that you think is a magnetic property to it on the psychic realm of mind, your mind being the magnet. Every thought that you think that is in love attracts love. Every thought that you think that is prosperous attracts prosperity. Every thought that you think fills in the psychic atmosphere of where you work and live. Therefore, think good and positive thoughts. You create your environment. Every thought that you think starts out physically, psychically, but then returns to you in physical manifestation, whether it is in person, thing, condition, or circumstance. Therefore, as you choose your thoughts, you choose your life. Every thought that you think has a creative psychic power for good or ill. Every thought that you think will make you a master or a slave of your own life. Every thought that you think is important, for every thought is attracting its nature back to you via the subjective mind as it travels into and through the psychic creative realm. That is truth. When you accept those ideals, you're working with the truth of the universe, because the universe is made up of multiple billions and billions of thoughts of both us, creatures on this earth, and in other realities. The entire universe is made up of all of the thoughts and beliefs of every living creature in the Milky Way. And it's kind of like, who's a Star Trek fan? The Borg, and how they had a central processing unit that they could hear the voices of each other. I love Gene Roddenberry for putting these bizarre concepts into a science fiction form that we can look at with entertainment and begin to have seeds of thoughts of reality. But that is really, on a non-destructive basis, what we are. We are a unification of a thought process. And the more positive thoughts that we put into the seed stream, the more those move through other realms. Your thoughts not just create your own environment, but the more positive and higher vibration thoughts you have create the world not only that we live in, that you experience, but that others experience as well. And so we have a divine responsibility to create a better world for everybody and everything. And the evidence of that, the evidence of your thoughts comes back to you. And this is why you hear me say, it's never about the other person, it's always about us, because we create everything that we see, feel, and experience. It's a huge responsibility, initially, to take that on, because it's so easy to say, that person yelled at me, that person cheated me, that person didn't give me my change back, that person said they borrowed money and were going to give it back to me, and my mother said a mean thing to me, or my child was rude to me. We are so accustomed to looking at the things that are around us and see it as something that is happening to us. And when we recognize and accept the truth that everything happens from us, then we have the power to change it and make it something that we want. Isn't that worth that little bit of squeamish moment when we have to take responsibility of it, to be empowered? Isn't that worth that courageous step? To say, I created this. And if I created this, I can discreate it and create something I want better. We have one of the holistic healers that works at our fair. We've got a couple that no matter what happens, every Saturday they have an experience, and over the next couple of days, one of the two of them will call and lodge complaints about this person was rude, and that person was smoking, and this person was too loud, and there were children out in the courtyard, and I couldn't concentrate. And the girls answer the phone, they go, oh, it's so-and-so again. And I said, give me the phone. So I just took the phone, I go, hi, so nice to hear from you, how are you? Fine, thank you. Well, there was this and this. And I go, oh, okay. Okay, well, we're going to do this. We'll do this about it. How does this work for you? And we'll change this, and it was this, and then it's, oh, it's this, and it was this. And I said, we'll take care of that for you, whatever you need. We will take care of you. We will support you in this. You just tell us what you need, and we will be here for you. And the girls were looking at me, and the person on the other end was so stupefied. And I was being genuine. I mean, I wasn't doing it tongue-in-cheek. I mean, I was really being genuine. I wanted this person to know that we cared. But this person on the other end was so stupefied at getting that kind of response to typical complaints that they were taken aback. And so I wanted to create a situation where I wasn't afraid to take this person's call. And when this person called, they felt heard, listened to, responded to, and respected. And that was the situation I wanted to create. It would have been so easy to go, oh, just let it go to voicemail. Just maybe we won't answer her back. It would have been so easy to allow ourselves to create a negative situation that she was a pain in the neck and then all she ever did was complain. But the truth is, I have the power to change that. So instead of complaining about the way something is, get out of victim mode and get out of embarrassment and feeling oppressed and feeling bothered and feeling annoyed and make a change. By genuinely getting in your heart space and making it be something different. So, pardon my language, do you want to spend your life bitching and complaining, or do you want to actually get empowered and start changing the way things are? The laws of truth came into me this morning and said, you have the power to create that. That is the truth. The whole truth and nothing but the truth. You have the power to change anything and everything in your life. It's up to you whether you choose to step into that power or not. And face your fears. And if you're having disability to create the things in your life because of fear, because that is the only thing stopping you from being in your power, and that is also the truth, the fears of what it will look like, how it will be, who will show up, who will frighten you, who will criticize you, who will judge you. It's only the fears that stop you from being powerful. Pearl sent me some inspiring messages, and I read one of them that said, the only way to get a no answer is not to ask. The only way not to step in your power is not to move forward. I think I'm paraphrasing a little bit. But standing still is the best way not to move forward. Not asking is the best way to get a no. Not stepping into your power is the best way to be disempowered. Ask. Move forward. Make the change. Find it within yourself to create the life that you want. And I used to say the life of your dreams, but dreams sounds very sort of out there and unattainable. The life that you want. Create the life that you want. It might take a little bit of a journey. You may be doing it one paradigm shift at a time. But this isn't a race. We're not in a race to do it tomorrow. We can do it just one step at a time today. Make the change. Create the sequence. Set the intention. And be all that you can be. So the message from the laws of truth are, you have the power to do it. It's not candy-coated. It's not singing a song. They're not going, oh. They're just coming in straight. And the truth is that the only thing that stops you from being in your power is the fear that you have. And as I was sitting there meditating this morning, and they said that, and I heard myself saying, I hate fear. I hate it when people are afraid. And they said, and the truth about that is that you are judging your own fear. You hate it when you are afraid. So you hate it when somebody else is afraid. And I went, well, that's the truth. No messing around. When you call in the laws of truth, you're gonna get it. You're gonna get it straight. So if you want it straight, call them in. And for me, I felt those big orbs. There was this big orb coming in, and it had this face. Hi, come on in. It felt this big presence there, and it was over here on my right-hand side. Do you see the Ransom?
Where? Around you?
You always, whatever I'm talking about, you always see.
Well, I know, but I usually look to see who your spirit guide is, who's helping you when you're talking, and what it's saying, but I don't look for the orbs.
Oh, you don't see the orbs? They might not be here, but what we'd like to do is, if you would like, let's do a quick meditation. You want to call them in?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Let's go. I can feel their presence. So we're going to call in the laws of truth, and if there is something that you would like to know about your life, something you would like to change, something where you would like to feel powerful, something that you need to face, something where you need some courage, and I ask you now to imagine something in your life that you would like to shift and feel more empowered around. Feeling your energy expand in your chest. Feeling the power of your being open up. Feeling your heart space energy going up in all directions, below your feet, above your head, out of your chest horizontally. Feeling your 360 degrees expansion of your space, of your energy, of your heart space energy. And setting the intention and calling the laws of truth into my life to work with me on this situation, to show me what I need to do, what the truth of it is, what part of me is stopping that from happening. And the laws of truth don't come in to give us solutions, they just tell us what is. They just tell us what is the situation, so that we can then see the truth of it from all respects. Feeling them coming into your presence. Feeling the laws of truth all around you. Talking to you, illustrating to you, acknowledging your request. And we set the intent to work with the laws for our highest and best good, and for those all around us that would also be influenced by anything that we create. Sensing their presence, sensing their being with you. And now that you know how to call them in, you can do this in the future for yourself at any time. Keeping them with you as long as you want. And if you've got your message, you can just open your eyes and come back to the room, and stay with them as long as you need to. get anything that they would like to share with the group, or does anybody have any questions? Anybody?
So you call them in and you ask a question, because I have a lot of questions. So I do just ask them one question.
Well, we were just doing one question now for the sake of time, but there's no limit to how many questions you can ask them, how often you can bring them in for guidance. You know, and I like working with the laws of truth, because when you want to just cut to the chase, just get to the bottom of it, it's a direct route to what you need to do.
What about the solution? Are there laws of solution? That's a good one.
That's where you would bring in your guides.
Oh, okay.
And so, okay, so now that I know what the problem is, show me how to work with this, and then your guides would show you to get the solution. But you see, you can't even ask your guides what to do if you're not even aware of what to ask for. So oftentimes we ask our guides to say, I'm frustrated with this, I don't know what to do. But if we're not willing to see the truth of it, their hands are tied. And so by working with the laws of truth and just cutting to the chase and getting the facts, then you have something to say, okay, I know that I'm procrastinating on this because I'm afraid of this, and I don't want this to happen, and then this is what I can do. Show me how to get the courage on that. And then you can get a higher level of assistance when you're more intimately aware of what's going on with your own emotions. And that's what the laws of truth can do for us. They can show us what's really going on inside. It's, it's a dose of honesty, a dose of personal intimacy, authenticity, transparency.
Again, oftentimes the truth can be the solution.
Oftentimes the truth is the solution. When I was asking them about what to do with, the thing, they said, you're procrastinating on this because you're afraid of this. I went, okay. And what's the chances of this? And I said, what are the laws of return on investment on this? And they kind of laughed and they said, here's what's going to happen. So yes, sometimes just seeing the truth of it gives us the clarity that we need to go on our own. You see, because ultimately, we don't need our guides. Ultimately, our higher self and our connection to the divine will ultimately lead us to a path of not needing to check in with our guides and our angels. But we do while we're on the journey. But that is actually the ultimate goal, because we are as powerful as our guides and our guardian angels. We just don't think that we are. It's the law of illusion that keeps us in this third plane that says we're not as highly evolved as them. We actually are. We are simply veiled by third dimension illusions. So you can ask the law of truth to break through the law of illusion and give you the truth. Yeah.
Can you go back? You talked about as a healer, you can go back and change the past.
Mm-hmm.
Can you expand on that?
So what I do is, when something happens and we all have that little playback that goes on, and we recreate an event in our mind, and we may forget about it for a while, but if somebody brings it up and we can recall a blow-by-blow account, we know the day, the time, what color the sweater that they were wearing, and we can recite what I said and what they said and what I said, then that is something that is caught up in us emotionally because we're unsatisfied or unreconciled with a certain event. When working with the laws of time, I would say, go back to that event in your mind, this time, knowing everything that you know, having all of your wisdom, all of your experience. What would you say to that person? What would you do now that you've got the benefit of hindsight? And recreate in your mind the conversation you would have liked to have had. Not that you would really want to tell them off, but how you could, with power and personal grace, handle the situation differently. And you see, in your mind, your brain doesn't understand the difference between what you experience and what you imagine. It sees the same thing. So by going back and imagining the way you would have liked it to have happened, everything about your brain then will automatically choose the higher vibration scenario, the one that you had the most reconciliation with, one that feels the best, and then everything about your emotions and your neural pathways will gravitate to that emotional creation. And it's almost as though it's like going back and changing in the past, because everything about how you think and feel now is shifted as though it happened that way. So you might say to somebody, well, this is an imagination, and it allows you to stop it, but getting a little out there now, what if it was really real, that if everything we experience is an illusion, just because we created it physically from memory as compared to imagining it, what if there really wasn't a difference between the two? Just because our body has cellular memory on one event, but if everything about our creation comes from our imagination, imagining it different in the past, it actually shifts the timeline. We become the kind of person that we would be now had we said it that way back then. Did I loop around too many times? Did I lose anybody? Okay, got it?
Yeah, because it's, the essence of it is it's a healing.
Mm-hmm. All of a sudden, your personal power is intact. And if you have a habit of sort of like one person always giving you a gag order, that no matter what happens when you're around this person, they always seem to get the best of you. Keep going back and imagining how you would talk to them in those situations where they got you off kilter. Keep imagining what you would say, and then the next time you meet them, you're going to find yourself coming out with it in that empowered way, because you've already created that being the habit of how you do things.